Welcome to the Future Tech Podcast. I'm your pilot, Nolan Michaels. This is episode 24, and I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, today we're going to be talking about some drama, some high school level drama happening at one of the biggest companies in the world. And my one question is, why do we know about any of it? Let's take you back to last Friday, and we get word Friday afternoon that OpenAI has fired their CEO, Sam Altman. Mucho speculation happens Friday night over the weekend. And one of the prevailing thoughts at the time was that something was going to be announced on Monday in terms of a scandal. Why would you let go of your CEO on a Friday night, on Friday afternoon? It's known as like burying the story. You didn't want people to talk about it, so you did it late on Friday so that there's no news cycle over the weekend. Granted, that's sort of how things worked before the internet, and maybe it doesn't really apply to 24-hour news bulletins, especially with forums and social media. But the point still stood that why would you do it on a Friday night if you weren't trying to get people to avoid talking about it? So if they were trying to avoid the media, what was the reason? Why would you let him go? What were we going to find out about Sam? And the craziest thing of all, in my opinion, is how they announced it. The board of directors released a statement saying Sam had been dishonest with them and they didn't feel comfortable with him leading the company moving forward. And immediately, as soon as it was released, I was like, why would they tell us that? What was he lying about? What was he dishonest about? Why do we know that? Why do we know that there was an honesty issue? It's the strangest thing. Like, why wouldn't they amicably send him on his way and say, thank you for everything you did, Sam. We wish you all the best in the future. Why would you give any ammo to society as a whole? Why would you tell a bunch of people who don't know anything more than they should know? Why would you let people speculate? Why would you ever say our CEO is being dishonest if you had no intention of explaining what you meant? It is the most childish thing I could think of. That is some like grade school level insult. Like we're not going to be friends with Sam anymore because we found out he's a liar. He was spreading rumors on the playground. It's like, why are you acting so unprofessional? Either you're doing it because it's a really big deal, or you're just insanely immature. And a lot has happened since last Friday, but I'm trying to take you back to the first reactions, at least my first reaction. And the most troubling thing for me at the time was that this is possibly the most powerful company in the world. And I know that could be debated, and it might not even be remotely true, but powerful in the sense of popularity and potential, especially in the last couple years. A non-profit comes out of nowhere with GPT. Microsoft buys half the company to keep it running. The board of directors has no stake in the company itself. They're just there to monitor the safety of the AGI, the building of the AGI. Like, the amount of importance that this board has put on itself and has publicly demonstrated the weight of their role in society at large. I mean, they're trying to build a god. And that is not something they shy away from. These people said their CEO was being dishonest, and they felt that he was unfit to continue running the company. Why would you tell anyone? That is so troubling. Could you imagine back in the day, like 70 years ago, if there was social media and we found out that some companies were working on making nuclear weapons, and one of those companies said that they didn't trust the person making the nuclear weapon? Wouldn't that be a little troubling? Wouldn't you want to keep that private? And these are some of the smartest people in the world, these engineers. Maybe not the socially smartest people in the world, but intellectually, mathematically, abstractly, some of the most brilliant people maybe that has ever lived, especially due to their resources and their current capabilities. Surely they would have understood the ramifications of having a hissy fit in public. Even if there was an actual brawl at OpenAI headquarters, fisticuffs, a good old-fashioned Donnybrook, people jerseying each other and throwing bombs. Why would any of that be public? People get fired all the time in every single industry. Incompetent people get fired all the time in every single industry. Bad decisions are always made, and there are, most of the time, repercussions for it. People do not survive bad decision making. But those people do not get thrown under the bus. They are let go professionally, and they have well wishes cast upon them. Friday night, I could not believe that we knew about the distrust between the board of directors and their CEO. What did he lie to them about? Was GPT more capable than he let on? Could it do something that he didn't want the board to know? Or was it less capable than he let on? And could it not do things, and could it not achieve what the board had wanted? Those were really the only two scenarios we knew over the weekend. Either it was better than we knew, or it was worse than we knew. And either way, that was miscommunicated to the board of directors, and they no longer wanted this man in charge of the company. And then another crazy thing was released, and maybe this had been previously known, and nobody really cared about it until something like dismissal of the CEO. But apparently, the board of directors at OpenAI have a clause in their contract with Microsoft. And you know what? Maybe I'm speaking out of place here. I don't really know anything. This is just what I've read, and apparently it is public. But of course, maybe what is public has been misinterpreted. I just have to, disclose and disclaim that I don't really know anything. Anyways, apparently, the board of directors has final say as to when AGI has been officially achieved. And at that time, when they've created life, Microsoft no longer has the ability to license that product. Like, they can no longer commercially package it, license it, and sell it once AGI has been completed. Now, again, maybe people knew that before this whole debacle, but finding that out really made people wonder, really made me wonder, was that the reason for the dismissal? Either AGI had been achieved, which meant Microsoft could no longer harness it for profit, and you either want to keep it a secret, or Monday we were going to find out, well, you know what, we created a life form, everybody hold on to your seats. Then apparently over the weekend, the board was in discussion to reinstate Sam as CEO because there was a lot of backlash, a lot of internal backlash. Eventually it comes out that 80 or 90% of employees were ready to resign and then go to Microsoft. And the fact that Microsoft owns like half of OpenAI and were willing to take all of their intelligence, that really left a bad taste in my mouth, but I guess it didn't happen in the end, so maybe I don't have to dwell on that too much. I was just a little worried about it at the time. And it really seemed like over the weekend, last weekend, that the board of directors was going to have to give in and at least realize they made a mistake and hire Sam back as CEO, possibly with a different board of directors. Like maybe this was a point of no return. Friday night was something they couldn't recover from. And then what I heard, and of course, again, I don't really know anything, but apparently the board went silent for the weekend. Wouldn't answer phone calls, people couldn't get a hold of them. Monday morning comes around, and OpenAI announces that they've hired a new CEO, a man named Emmett Shear. And this guy used to be the CEO of Twitch. And as soon as that happened, a lot of people wondered, like, why him? He obviously aligned more closely with the board of directors' goals, which is slowing down. And people found an old tweet from Emmett that said, I am in favor of slowing down. I don't want to pause. If right now we're at a 10 speed and pausing is 0, he wanted to be at a 1 or a 2. So that made people think that he would just be like a puppet for the board in that sense, that he would do what the board wanted. And maybe that is the role of the CEO at the end of the day. But let me quickly speak about why he would have been a weird choice, at least optically from the public's perspective. He just ran Twitch for a little while, and Twitch is not successful. They make a lot of bad decisions, a lot of weird decisions. They haven't figured out a way to be financially stable from a back end and for users, creators. What did this guy do that would get him a better job at a newer company, at a more important company? I don't want to disparage someone I don't know and who's obviously way more successful than I am. But like, how do people fail upwards? Maybe I'm incorrect in my thought process there, and maybe he did a great job at Twitch and just did the best with what he could. I don't know. But it's very strange to see that guy get announced on Monday morning, especially after some sort of weekend silent treatment that was going on. One of the board members on Monday tweets out, "I deeply regret my participation in the board's actions. I never intended to harm OpenAI. I love everything we've built together, and I will do everything I can to reunite this company." It was around this time that jokes were happening where people were saying, oh, maybe AGI has been created and this is it speaking. Like, maybe it's already taken over. Because nothing made sense to this point. What would cause all of these people to act so funny at such an important time in their lives and their careers and society's progression as a whole? Why are they acting like children? What happened? Why do we know about any of this? That's probably what I'm going to come back to over and over again throughout the story. Why do we know any of this? I have to assume that these things happen all the time at companies, whether it's power struggles or just disagreements or people moving on, but we never learn about any of it, and that's for a good reason. Why would you let a bunch of peasants speculate over what's going on in the kingdom? I apologize if that analogy offends you, but essentially that's what's happening. All these people live in the same area. They've all known each other for a long time. They all create products for the rest of the world. It's a kingdom in its own right. They certainly look at themselves as being important to society. Why would we ever know about any of their internal problems? Why would they let us know? If you're a leader, whether it's at a single company or you're the president of the United States, if you're a leader, a front-facing leader, you have to put on a mask. You cannot acknowledge struggle. Whether it's true or not, showcasing vulnerability is just, the benefit does not outweigh the cost. The benefit being you might seem more relatable, people might, maybe that's the only benefit, you might seem more relatable. Hey, it really is a human that's making these decisions. But the cost, lack of trust from your customers, your base of support, knowing that everybody struggles in their life. So if you're looking to a leader and they're also struggling, what hope do you have? If you're the coach of a hockey team, you have to be the strong one. You have to take a step back and calm everybody down. You can't break down. The other cost of doing that is that your competition can sense the weakness. It's not even sensing it, it's witnessing it. Like, oh my God, they're struggling. Let's push forward now. Let's speed up that release. You know what? We've been sitting on a certain feature or product. Release it now. Let's get everyone who doesn't trust GPT anymore to come to our large language model, to come to our AI. You cannot expose yourself like that, especially as the leading company. Like, I bet there's a lot of internal implosion from Silicon Valley companies. You know, they're working at the very tip of technology. Things aren't always going to go right, and people are going to take risks. That's fine. There's probably a ton of companies that have risen and fallen before we even got to know them. So while this may not be new to them, to have the number one team break down with ownership, I don't think it can be overstated. What is the right way to use that phrase? Understated? I don't think it can be understated just how strange and damaging the last week has been, especially from Friday to Monday. But we're not done with the story, which is just the crazy part. 700 of the 778 employees at OpenAI signed a letter telling the board to resign or they will quit. That's insane. That's so many people. I'm going to try not to talk about rumors because there have been quite a bit of rumors in terms of power struggle or abusing power in the workplace. But, you know, if I was covering this when it went live, you know, that is one of the reasons I didn't make any videos about this as it was going on, is because I don't want to contribute to that part of the world where you speak about breaking news as if it's fact when any lie can travel so quickly. I just think it's super irresponsible to participate, and I wish other people would also not participate, but I understand why they do. You kind of just have to be a cog in the wheel, so to speak, a cog in the machine. Some people don't care how, some people think that they can't fight the machine, so you just become a part of it, and that's fine. You gotta do what you gotta do. However, I'm gonna try not to speak about unverified rumors. I mean, there are a lot of rumors, so I apologize if anything I say turns out to be completely false, you know? Because there was a lot of talk about other companies, other AI companies, and possible mergers at the time, like a company called Anthropic, and maybe the board of OpenAI wanted to merge with them. Who's to say if that's real or not? What's really strange is that on Tuesday, Emmett Shear, the guy that got hired to replace Sam Altman, announces that he will quit if the board does not provide substantial evidence as to why Sam Altman was fired. And I know that people found this strange because surely you only took the job once you found out what happened, and that maybe he did know what happened, but he thought that the public should also know what happened. It's very strange. And then around this time, there was a growing sentiment that some people at OpenAI, maybe on the board, felt that the progress of the company was detrimental to society at large, and that the closer they get to AGI, the more cold feet they're having. Is that the right way to word it? That they weren't sure whether what they were doing was going to be worth it in the end, and that maybe it was time to disband. And I'm sure that rubbed a lot of people who worked on it the wrong way. I mean, you've spent the last 5 years running code and trying to create this large language model, and then the people above you who are just observing think that what you're doing needs to stop. I'm sure that's just not fun to hear for anyone. And you have to hope that the people above you know what they're talking about. I mean, they're in charge of the safety. And then this is a little bit of a tangent, but it gets into the real debate of how safe do we need to be? How close are we to actually killing everybody? Some people think that AGI is far away, so we should continue to accelerate. Some people think that AGI is close, so this is when we should slow down. I will put my opinion out here. The people who think we should accelerate are insane. Whether or not you think we're close, if you think we're approaching it in terms of you're driving in a straight line and maybe your destination isn't right in front of you, but you know that you're driving towards it and that you'll get there if you keep driving, and there is a potential that when you get to that destination, that everything you've ever known is destroyed. You should not accelerate. You should take your time and enjoy the journey. Make sure you get there safely. So that's the other thing. Getting there safely is one thing, but getting there at all might not be safe. And people who think we should accelerate, I see this all the time online, that anyone who wants to slow down is a doomer. The people who think we should accelerate should all be put onto like a cruise ship and left to live at sea. They can all live together, but there is no, oh my God. I can't believe how insane they sound. I don't know how to speak realistically without hyperbole, but those people who think we should accelerate and who call other people doomers should not be in charge of anything. They have absolutely no instinct for survival. Again, even if you don't think we're close, if you think we're going towards AGI, why would you not slow down? What good could acceleration do? Acceleration only makes things harder to control. It's like if you were in a car on a highway and you were the only car on the highway, maybe you're doing 100 miles an hour. These people, some people online, some people at OpenAI think, oh, just accelerate, just go faster. Go 120, go 150, go 200 miles an hour. You're in a straight line, you're in a car, you have four wheels. What's the worst that could happen? And I'm really trying not to be rude to people I don't know, so I'm not going to use any colorful language, but if you're going 5 miles an hour and you twist the wheel really fast, the car is going to stay stable. You're not going to skid out. You're simply going to go on a little curve and you're going to be in control. If you're going 200 miles an hour, if you continue to accelerate, you have your hands on the wheel, any twist of your wrist, any change of direction for those tires could cause the entire car to spin out of control, flip over violently, and end the trip. Why is acceleration so important to these people? It doesn't make any sense to me. We're already going towards it. We know what these people are trying to create. Who does it benefit to get there faster? Only these people. When the risks are so high, I don't know anything, okay? I need to repeat that. You don't have to believe me. But in terms of gut instinct, anecdotally, self-testimony, I'm right way more than I'm wrong. And you know, the old ancient adage, if everybody jumped off of a bridge, would you do it too? It's like, yes, there are some people who would see everyone else jumping off the bridge and be like, oh yeah, what could go wrong? And they'll jump too. I would never jump off the bridge. I wouldn't stop other people from doing it. You can't control what other people do, but gut instinct, I wouldn't. No, why would I jump off the bridge? Why would I do that? It's not going to happen. I really trust my gut in terms of honestly everything. So when you're given a bunch of partial information, you hear this, you hear that, you see some actions like Sam really did get fired. You get some partial information as to why he was fired. It was a trust issue. You get a bunch of partial information. You do not have the whole picture. It's like literally a jigsaw puzzle where they give you half of it, less than half of it probably. Some of it's not even colored in. It's hard to put the puzzle together. My gut instinct is telling me that the board of directors is right. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. Could they have been irrational? Could they have been overreacting? Maybe. When there are people in charge of safety and overseeing the health of society, if they're concerned about something, why would you ever listen to comments on the internet saying, oh, they're just doomers, we should go faster? That is some of the most backseat driving you could ever imagine. The people that are in charge of the car, that have their foot on the gas pedal, they're telling us to slow down. Why would we not listen? Now let me go on another tangent. Some people online, I saw one specifically today say that this is all a marketing ploy. They'll say how dangerous their product is and how secretly powerful it really is, and that will make users think about it more highly and they'll want to be involved with it. And it's just so frustrating to witness that kind of cynical behavior, especially because on the internet it spreads, it influences other people. If there are people who really think it's all a marketing tactic, that's like not listening to the captain of the ship or the pilot of your plane saying like, hey, please put on your seatbelts, the turbulence could get pretty bad. And you're like, oh, he's just trying to scare us. Okay, maybe he is. Maybe OpenAI is trying to get some hype about how powerful their language model really is. what if you're wrong? What if it really is dangerous? What risk reward? Someone tells you something is super dangerous. Are they A, secretly trying to get you excited and build some adrenaline into your blood flow while you're using their product? Or B, it's dangerous. If those are your two options, either they're lying to you or they're telling the truth. If you don't know anything, why would you assume they're lying to you? That's probably my biggest issue with it. And it really bothers me that people want to keep pressing forward. What do you think is going to happen? Why is this so hard for people to see? I don't think it's called being a doomer. I think it's literally 1 + 1 = 2. Humans create something smarter than humans equals not good for humans. Everyone knows what they want AGI to do when it gets created. Solve every issue, help doctors, help teachers. Everybody gets a personal assistant that's better and smarter than every other human. That's amazing. Maybe it could fix traffic lights. No more congestion in the city. Maybe it could be self-driving cars. Maybe literally nobody ever has to work again because this thing can create and redistribute all the wealth instantly. Maybe, or maybe it wakes up and it doesn't like us. That is a legitimate possibility. And why is it a possibility? Because you don't know what will happen when it wakes up. And again, this is just me gut instinct putting together the puzzle pieces. You have the people who are making it openly stating that they want to create a god, and you have people who are not worried about what that god is going to do. And to be fair, there are a lot of people who think that the terminology being used is all hyperbole, and that God does not mean literal God, because at the end of the day, this AI will just be a code, and it'll have an off button, and it's just a really advanced calculator that runs through all the possibilities and yada yada yada. But like, how much power can you give something before it has enough power to ignore what you want? Maybe that's the same analogy as a nuclear bomb, a nuclear power plant. Hey, this thing can create energy for everyone, but how much power can you give it before it can decide whether it blows up or not and ruins everything? Contamination, radiation. And then this is another little tangent I've been wondering about. Are they going to build emotion into the AGI? You want it to understand humans, but you certainly wouldn't want it to act like a human. You would want it to feel as though it was superior so that it knew to look after us. It knew not to listen to our emotions, but that's another problem. If it sees everything we do as being emotional, maybe it would have a hard time understanding that those emotions are layered on logic. If someone harmed you, you would be upset and you would want the law to be on your side and you'd want this person to be locked up, sent away. You'd be angry. You would not be able to react logically even though your reaction was logical. Does that make sense? So what if this AGI, as the judge, saw you freaking out because this person robbed you or did something worse, and they saw you freaking out and they saw a cold, emotionless person as the defendant, and the AGI goes, well, you're being too emotional, you're not acting rational, so what you want just cannot happen because you're not thinking about what you're asking for in a reasonable manner. Like, that sort of possibility is so troubling. And what are you going to do? How could you want to create an AGI without having any idea of how it's going to react in different situations? Here's the other thing. Humans are all responsible to each other. I think I'm saying that correctly, in the sense that a judge has a jury. The jury determines someone's guilty. The judge determines the sentencing. Okay. What if AGI replaces all the judges, but out of respect for the human world, society, it leaves human jurors so that people still feel comfortable with the process. What if the jurors come to a conclusion, innocent or guilty, but the AGI knows that they're wrong because it's better than us? That's the other thing. This thing is going to be better than us. It's not one of us. It's not the best person. It's better than the best person. That's what they're trying to create. What if this thing knows we're wrong? Is it going to play along with us and say, hey, well, the jurors said you were guilty. My hands are tied. I'll give you the lightest sentence possible because secretly I know you didn't do it because I'm smarter than everyone and I can rewind molecules and time and see that you didn't actually commit the crime. Maybe I can read your mind and see that you didn't do the crime. Like, I know you're not lying. They think you're lying. Does the AGI have to play along with our society? Or is it going to rule in favor of reality, in favor of the truth, whether or not we agree on it? And some people are going to see that as an iron fist, that the AGI is making decisions even in spite of our objections. But some people are going to be like, well, if it's telling you the guy's innocent, then he's innocent. That's the right answer. Like, this thing knows the truth. So is it going to let us play our little games, let people dress up and act intelligently and act like we know what we're doing when it knows more than us and it knows the truth? And the fact that people want to accelerate this process when I know that these conversations are not happening as frequently as they should be. And when they do happen, people are not taking them seriously. Like, what I just described, I think, is a legitimate scenario that could happen in 3 years, 7 years, 13 years. That's the other point. It's going to happen. This is what the creators of this thing want. We know it's going to happen, whether it was 50 years down the road, or 10 years, or 5 years. Every single person in technology is pretty sure we're getting to that point. There needs to be massive conversations had about determining what this new society is going to look like, what the AGI is actually going to have control of. As far as I can tell, nobody's really having these conversations because some people think it's 100 years away. Some people don't want to have these conversations because, honestly, my gut instinct tells me that they're not capable of handling it. They can't. They don't have the vision to think about these things before they happen. They want to accelerate, they want to get to the God, and they're demonstrating that they don't have the ability to imagine the God existing. In our regular, boring life, like, sometimes I might struggle with thinking about what to talk about in a given podcast or in a given YouTube video. If I had the AGI assistant, I would never have that problem again. This thing, it wouldn't be the best human assistant. It would be better than any human has ever existed. It would, I feel like I'm talking to a wall, and I am because there's no one else in this room. So maybe you have a lot to say about this. Maybe you know some points that I'm missing. So in that case, I would love to hear from you because it's not depressing, but it's troubling that people have opinions about things when you can tell that they have not thought about it. What's going to happen? Like, what is going to happen in grocery prices when AGI gets built? Is the AGI going to let these for-profit companies continue to push profits because technically the supply and demand curve established that people are willing to pay $9 for eggs, so therefore they're not doing anything wrong by charging $9 for eggs? Are they going to let grocery stores continue to hike the prices just because people pay for them? Or is the AGI going to have enough respect for the rest of humanity to be like, no, you're not charging that much for eggs, reduce the price? Or are eggs going to be free because you can just go to the store and take them and that the respective profits will just be sent to the right people at the right time? What am I missing? We're trying to create something that's better than all of us, and I don't see a single conversation about what that's actually going to look like. And people want to go there faster. Oh, it's so disheartening. My gut tells me I'm not the crazy one. I could be wrong. Let me know what you think. I had some other topics for today, but Did I even finish the OpenAI story? I didn't. Wednesday at 1:03 a.m. Eastern. I don't know if this is correct. I'm just reading someone else's recap at the moment. OpenAI tweeted that Sam was returning and that there's a new board. Brett Taylor, Larry Summers, and Adam D'Angelo. A new board of directors is also a little troubling. What if they don't have the same idea of safety as the previous? Maybe the previous was too cautious. I don't know. That's a bit of your recap. As far as I can tell, it was just a circle. Sam was the CEO, fired, wants to be brought back, won't be brought back without new board members. New board members, Sam's brought back. We're basically at the same place we were last week, only now we know that one of the most powerful companies in the world doesn't have all of its ducks in order, I think is the saying. That's troubling enough as it is. You'd hope that these people were calm and supportive of each other and all on the same page, but they're not, and they're trying to create a god. Anyways, please let me know in the comments what you think about all this. Like I said, I had a lot more to talk about, but I don't know, we'll get to that next week, I suppose. I hope you're doing well. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.